Let's automate the generation of player character backgrounds using the rules from the 5th edition of the Player's Handbook. Welcome to my channel. I focus on tabletop role-playing games, video games, and science fiction. Let's start with automating player character backgrounds. So this is the PowerShell script. I've started to use some comments, so this is the first time I've used comments or at least help comments in a PowerShell script. So this was a learning experience also for me. So the way you use the help for this is you have this funny syntax, but let's actually show you what this little script does. It's not that complicated, and first off we'll connect the appropriate where I'm working from, which is on this drive. Maximize that up there. So then if I do help /background, and you can hit the nice tab completion with PowerShell, and then this says the name of it is the background 5e. It generates the background for a 5e player character. And the syntax is it just uses background, and if it takes one parameter, which is the background name. It can take some common parameters, which we'll talk about. It generates the background of the player character using the tables from the 5th edition of the Player's Handbook. I've restricted my XML to the Player's Handbook because I figure that's what everyone has, and that's what I wanted to limit it to. I know there's more, because this link here, if you go to this link, it will show you that there are some other backgrounds, but I actually don't have that source material, so I'm going to restrict myself to material that I actually own. And if we actually run this /backgrounds, just run it, it will randomly select a background, urchin. Or if I type in what or something like that, it will say that what did not match any known backgrounds. So these are the backgrounds that it understands. And I only have to type in enough to make it unique. If I type in A, there's only one that starts with the letter A, so that will pick Acolyte. If I type in a C, that isn't sufficient to uniquely identify either charlatan or criminal, so it'll complain. But if I type CH or CR, let's do CR for criminal, it will select that. So the same thing is with G. I mean, the guild artisan is there. So you can just do G, so you can type one letter or as much as you want. I can type Sage, or I can just type SA. SA isn't enough, but SAG is, so SA. And each one produces a new one. So it lists what the background is, what its speciality is, its personality trait, its ideal. Now this is straight from the list, so that may have a problem with your ideal based upon your alignment, but I'm just generating that. So there's your bond and your flaw, and it will generate, if there were more, like for example the pickpocket, the criminal had a speciality. Not all of them have a speciality. So let's talk about the script. Or actually, the better way to start, I guess, is to start talking about the XML. So the background XML is similar to the one that I did for the intelligent or items, or whatever, the sentient items. But it's so we have backgrounds contains a background. The background has a description. Each background has a list of attributes. Each attribute has a description and a list and an options, and then the options there. I didn't set this up to support nested options, though it wouldn't be hard to do. I just did. Obviously, you could use the same code that almost the same code that I did from the sentient items. So we have this. And this one was fairly easy to create because I copied the text from that link. You also notice that there are some interesting, because it's copied, sometimes that's there. So let's just do a global replacement while we're at it, so that they're all consistent at least. There are 129 of them in there. Okay. So we rewrote that back out so that they're all consistent using the same asterisk as opposed to this the one that was obviously came from a word processor. So this is the description. These are right out of, this was taken from the website, and which matches what's in the book, which allows you to create that. So if you wanted to create a new one, you could grab one and clone it and put those in there. So that gives you, like for example, entertainer. The entertainer has attribute of entertainer routines, so it will do that. So if I come back over here, let's clear the screen. That was sort of unusual. It didn't clear this full screen. Must be something. Anyway, now then, if I do the entertainer, notice it lists the entertainer routines. It lists the entertainer routine, which one was selected. So this allows you to put more into there. So if you have a more detailed background that can generate other things, it will go through and do all of that. So the structure is fairly simple. You have backgrounds contains background, which contains a description, which also contains attributes. Attributes contains attribute, a description, and options. Options contain a list of option. And so it's a relatively simple structure. If we get back to the script, so the start of it is the help text for that. We specify the one parameter is random. This is the interesting way. We'll look at how I implemented this search through this. So read in the list of options. So it actually, the first thing it does is it reads in the background file, backgrounds.xml file. This is simpler than the one I had in the sentient object. So what this does is that first off, if it says it's a random, or basically that, if we look here, when I set the parameter, if you didn't specify, it says its name is random. So it will then, if the back name is random, it will randomly select. That's how it selects it. It uses the get random of the backgrounds. Otherwise, it uses an XPath statement, which is always fun. So here we look for the word backgrounds containing background, and it hunts for the description starting with what was specified as the background name at the start. The only thing is we have some back quoted the back quote or tick of the quote so that this works. Getting the XPath statements in PowerShell, it's a little bit cumbersome. Then we do measure object again. That gives us the count. And then the count, if it's not equal to 1, then we say then we go through this loop here. If it's not equal, or this section here, and we say if it's greater than 1, then we didn't uniquely identify the background. If it's not equal to 1 and it's not greater than, it's got to be less than. So it did not match any known backgrounds. And so then we list out the known backgrounds. So if I run the script here as EX, it doesn't find it. And that's the output that it puts. Did not match any known backgrounds, and these are the backgrounds that it knows about. So that nothing is hard-coded, we can add more backgrounds to the background XML. So this one takes a little bit different approach. We create an array, which is an out array, and then we're using the plus equal to add the elements to the array. So we're building up the output there. So then we could, if we didn't want to do output stir, we could simply do a file output, I believe, is, I have to look it up, but it's so that you could send the output array to with one line instead of the outright output. So it'd be fairly simple to modify to output. So what this one does, this is for each attribute that we each attribute, this is where it goes through the attributes for the background. We get the description and we get the option, and then this is the easiest way I found to make sure that there's a colon and a space in there, is that we format the string with the description and the option, and that is added to the output array. When we're through, we join the output array with character return line feeds. And so that's, then we write the output string. And notice when we know the same thing is up here with it, where we're back quoting character return line feeds. This tells it we want a new line. So that's the only thing that gets a little unusual. This one is how we put the character return line feed at the beginning of the array. So it's a fairly simple script, goes through, it'll generate this. I'd like to hear some feedback. Do you want to see the other backgrounds that are publicly available, that are easily available? I could add those. Or do you want to see where we specify an output? I was just getting concerned about the advantage of just using a single parameter, because then it processes it with it uses the XPath, starts with description, and I guess we could do some uppercase comparisons with things like that, but it just gets a little bit more worrisome about getting everything working with XPath. And it works, but by the way, I should show this here, that you select the XPath, and then you need to do the XPath, then you need to do a select object expand property of node to get it into a list of the backgrounds, which, well, it's either one or two, and that's what we call measure object. If we have one, we're great. If we have two, then we have to, that's why right here it writes the output error message and then it exits. So I'd love to hear some more comments. Thank you for watching. I look forward to learning what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate all your comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. I appreciate both forms of feedback. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, you can click on the icon on the left. If you're interested, there's more content on the right.